Hey, I'm Matt Hudgins, and he's Dave Mulvaney, and this is Profitability MD. Dave, how you doing today, buddy?
Man, I'm doing fantastic here in sunny Florida. How about you?
Yeah, Atlanta's not exactly sunny. We got plenty of rain. But hey, we are on episode 60, and we got a special guest. Tell me about our special guest.
We do. We have today we have Lee Bradshaw, Simple Video School. Lee's background is, in marketing for about 10 years, but now he teaches businesses how to create video content to grow their brand, communicates their message so that they can get more sales. So Lee, welcome to Profitability MD. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I am doing amazing today, and that's not just a default answer. So, and thanks for having me here.
No problem. So what's a big problem in that you solve in the video marketplace? Ultimately, there's a lot of, let's say, noise out there about how to make video or this or that. Mm-hmm. What's your market? Like, who's your ideal client, and how do you help them solve their problem? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think ideal client is somebody who probably has a message that they want to share. They want to grow an audience. They want to help people. They want to serve people. But for whatever reason, they are scared, or they don't understand how to pull their phone out and talk to folks. And sometimes it's people who they may not even know that's an issue. They may not know that video is a great way to do that. So those are kind of the folks I'm kind of going after. Okay.
And why are people afraid? Okay, so you said you used the word afraid, but of course you can see Matt and I have the highest technology available. Yeah. So let's not go there, but what makes people afraid to perhaps get on video?
Well, there's multiple reasons, and I'm glad you asked that. I talked to a lady. She was a professional dancer, and she had danced at the Sydney Opera House in front of thousands of people.
Oh, that kind of professional dancer. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Not like the other kind of, but yeah, she had danced, the famous, it looks like the Shells or whatever, Sydney Opera House. She danced in front of thousands of people, but when she pulled her phone out to talk to people on her phone, she was terrified. And it was just a mental block that had gone up. So some people, it's just kind of getting over that. Other people, it's just the technological side of, how do they do things? How do they set it up? And then if they don't know those things, then they wind up, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll learn that later. And then, something I talk about is your message stays in between your ears and nobody actually hears about it. So that's probably the afraid. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Is being afraid? Is there the biggest thing being afraid, or how about do they get on there and just don't know what to say? Like what are some of the common mistakes that they'll make?
Yeah. Well, so a part of it is being afraid. It depends on the person. I've run into multiple people. Some of them are afraid. I've talked to, basically when I was kind of putting this together, I interviewed a whole bunch of people and just asking them questions. What's keeping you from making video content? Okay. And some of them were saying, I don't want to look like an idiot. They feel like they're not going to look professional. And that was a big fear that kept them from doing it. And then some of them just said, the technical side of things, they just don't know what to do, what to talk about. Matt, you just mentioned, they didn't know really what to say to their audience. And so since they don't know that, they don't take action and do anything with that. So it just, again, it stays in between their ears, and that message doesn't get out to folks.
Right. Well, I'm going to back up on here. We've had Matt Champagne on here a couple times. He's the survey king. So first of all, I'm very impressed that you actually asked your clients what their problem was, right? Like that.
Thank you.
Good for you, Lee. That's the kind of research you're actually supposed to do instead of randomly guessing, right?
Yeah.
What problem can I help you solve when it comes to video? What's the one thing, or what one thing can I help you with when it comes to video? So it sounds like you researched your clientele and they came back and said, hey, I'm afraid, or I may not know what to say, or just technical phobia. Hey, what if I don't look good on camera, or I don't know how to, or, the phone. So that's good for you. That's really good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I knew that you can, we all think we have great ideas, right? Like everybody likes their ideas. My old buddy used to talk about that. He's like, oh yeah, everybody loves their own ideas. But until we kind of ask those questions, we don't really know what it is that we're trying to solve. And I didn't want to just assume, because you know what they say about assuming. I didn't want to just assume that I knew what people were wanting. And I think oftentimes, have y'all heard, there's a saying that talks about the curse of knowledge. I don't know if y'all have heard of that saying before, but it's just the concept of when you're so close to something, you assume that other people understand what you're talking about.
Right.
And so the problem that I can run into, and I think we can all run into in our own specific industries, is we just assume other people know what we're talking about. Right. And instead we need to go, wait a minute. And my wife reminds me of this oftentimes. She's like baby, she says, you know what a flippity flop is. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I need to simplify. I need to get dumbed down and simplify and make sure that I'm not just assuming that people know what I'm talking about. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I really asked folks what they were wanting.
You say that. You called it the curse of knowledge. I call it engineer syndrome. See, I had a 18-year run in the electrical business. I had a company we manufactured. I had a team of electrical engineers that worked for me. They were way smarter than me, but sometimes they would talk to me in this language, and I'd be like, guys, come back down to earth. You're talking to Dave. You're not talking to an engineer.
Exactly.
You know so much that they think you know that too, right? So,
yeah. I mean, I think it was one of the presidents. It may have been JFK. I may have got that wrong, but one of them talked about making speeches that a 12-year-old could understand. Yep. You don't want to speak sixth
grade level, right?
Yeah, So just speak simply. Speak, from just that standpoint, so people understand what you're talking about, and just kind of go from there. So yeah.
Tell me. So maybe there's two different questions to the same one. You've got like this video series, 6 steps, I guess, or 6 mistakes. I'm not exactly sure. So you could walk us through some of those, or I was looking at your LinkedIn and you had like the dog dryer lady, the wedding lady. How do they use the video, or why should they use? How to use the video? How about that? Like how do they use it? Why would they use it? I don't know. You tell me. I just asked you 6 different questions.
Okay. So the question is basically how to use, maybe a good way to utilize some video, maybe. Okay. Can I share a story?
Yes.
Okay.
Preferable.
Okay. So talked with a dentist, and he was wanting to increase the amount of patients coming in the door. Okay. And as we were kind of talking, you think of like dentists, it's almost like realtors. There's like a bunch of them. They all pretty much do kind of the same thing. Some are nicer and some are meaner and some are jerks and that whole kind of deal. But the thing I talk about in the course a lot is the thing that separates you from your competitors is you. If apples to apples, if 5 realtors can all do the same thing, then what separates them? So as we're talking, I said, let's do something very, very simple here. We don't need to make a super fancy video. We just need to make something very, very simple. And we created just a video where he's talking straight to the camera. He's talking in a friendly, approachable way, not loud. And I think the video was 45 seconds to a minute. And I think he starts it off. I believe he starts it off with, has it been a while since you've been to your dentist? And so already a question, a little bit of a hook. Most of us, it's probably been a little while since we've been to the dentist. And then he just talks for a minute. He's not even in a dental office. He's just sitting in a cool chair. And anyways, that video got him 20 new patients in 3 days, and they cut the campaign off.
All right. How did he use the video? He made that cool video. Tell me what he did.
On that one, he used it just on a simple Facebook campaign. Okay. Yeah, just ran for 3 days, booked up 20 patients, cut it off.
Wow. So what?
That's awesome, by the way.
You covered a lot in that area, but okay. So what I picked up there, okay, he made a video. What did you tell him would be like the ideal length? If somebody's starting out and they've never done videos and they want to put some videos out, what's an ideal length, or what would be too long for a starting type video? Let's say, what's too long?
Yeah. Okay. So I typically tell people, you know, you get one of those answers and it depends. I'll try not to give you an it depends, but it kind of depends. It depends on the relevance to your audience. Like I've watched YouTube videos that were, 20, 30, whatever minutes long because it was relevant and I was paying attention. I would typically say start off somewhere between a minute to 2 minutes, and just kind of see where you land. Sometimes people get distracted easily and they start to ramble. If you feel like you're rambling, then you can go ahead and start to kind of cut it shorter. But, I say at the most have 3 main points on your video. I don't typically have people script their videos out unless they absolutely need to. And if you're going to do that, you're probably going to want to use a teleprompter because otherwise you're going to look left or right of the camera and that's going to be kind of weird looking. But
do you have a teleprompter that you recommend?
No, I don't use one. So, and that's the thing is if you know what you're talking about, you can typically talk around that subject. I think it was Logan. I can't remember Logan's last name. He's with Dennis Yu. I don't know if you know Dennis Yu, but he talks about competence breeds confidence. So when you understand something, then you can talk about it. And I think that's important for most of the people I talk with. They know their thing. Whatever that thing is, they know it. They know it inside and out. And if I ask them a question about it, they could probably talk for 20 minutes nonstop about the thing. Right. So one of the things I tell people to do oftentimes is come up with topics, frequently asked questions, problems that people encounter, and make your video content around that. So, for I'm trying to think of maybe like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. Let's just have something kind of off the wall. What are common problems that his students deal with? Well, it could be bullying. Bullying could be a big problem that maybe that's why parents are bringing them in there, is to increase confidence, to protect them from these crazy people who are kicking people in the head and doing crazy stuff, these days when people are getting in fights. So ask what those problems are. What are solutions? What are some stories? I love stories. What are some stories that you can utilize to talk around that topic? And give people some insight, because what that will do is that will position you as an authority. It will show that you know what you're talking about. So when you make those videos, that's just the way to go.
And I want to add to that because it's a perfect example of an audience. So you teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu, okay? But some of your clients are we'll just say teens that are being bullied. Well, teens that are being bullied don't tell anybody. And if mom and dad says, we're going to go to jiu-jitsu, the kid might not have any reason unless he watches a video that says, I can help you not get bullied. Or maybe they would say that better than that in actual English. But the video might be able to reach the audience, a real audience with the real problem, because the kids don't always tell their parents. That's the other problem with something like bullying too.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, if you're targeting, obviously you need to know who you're targeting and what you're going after, but what if there was a video, 3 signs that will help you to understand if your kid's being bullied? If you had something along those lines, and then you open the video and you say, we've seen it all on the bullying side of things. Here's 3 things that we regularly see that, or 3 signs that we regularly see when we see kids that are being bullied. Here, and then you just kind of talk about that, because again, you've been doing it, you've seen it, you can kind of talk around it.
Right. So we have I just had lunch with one of my clients who's a home healthcare provider, concierge, nursing service kind of stuff. And I was thinking about the same thing, kind of a lead magnet, but you're saying it can be a video lead magnet. Like, how do you know it's time, for mom to go to assisted living? Yeah. Right. And that's something that she can spit off of, just by asking her. Here's some signs, right? Yeah. And here's some signs you're wearing yourself out as the caregiver, right? You're taking care of your spouse who's got Alzheimer's, and that you're wearing yourself out. Yeah. Great videos, right? So like literally just those kind of questions.
Well, and one of my favorite things, I appreciate you bringing that up. One of my favorite things to do is a video series.
Okay.
And to me, that's one of the most powerful things. I'm actually going to put together a little, I'm going to put together a video series on how to make a video series. But the reason that's super cool is another short story. One of my clients, amazing sales coach, and we put together, it was a 7-part video series. It was like 7 common sales mistakes, something like that. And we put that together, and as he's sitting there going through the sales mistakes, we put those all in one place on a landing page. Something that some people do is send out 1 video per email for like 7 days or whatever. I've just found that when people are ready to watch videos, they're ready to watch them, kind of like Netflix, they kind of binge watch. So if you send 1 video out and then you wait the next day, you know, the mom's carrying her baby into the house. Okay, I'll watch that later. The next day it comes out at Starbucks on a day. Okay, you know, whatever. And at a certain point, they've stopped paying any attention to what's going on. But anyways, back to the story. He had someone call him. He's in South Carolina. He had someone call him and say, "Hey, we watched your video series. We are making 8 mistakes," because it was 7 sales mistakes. They're having a little humor. So we're having a big problem here. "And we watched your video series. We want to fly you up here and train our sales team." And that's the thing, is it created that know, like, and trust factor. They were already believers at that point. He didn't have to really sell. They had to just figure out the details on getting him up there. And then from that, they just wound up, he did additional business with them and whatnot. So it just, you duplicate yourself. So my buddy, his name's Walker. He was probably eating some Cheerios or, you know, doing some exercise or whatever when they watched that. So it duplicated him and made it multiple sales, you know, people. And it convinced the people on their time of what was going on. And I think there's something that can't be replicated with like a PDF necessarily, because there's that tonality. And without the tonality, then that's, you don't get that same thing.
So what's interesting, oh, sorry about that, Matt.
I say it doesn't have to be some complicated video sales letter. Like that's what I like. The message I'm getting from you is, hey, look, your hats had simple video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's the mistakes. Here's the.
You're breaking up, Matt.
Am I back down?
You're still breaking a little. You're good? Well, while his signal is tough, I was just going to say, so what you're talking about, Lee, is today, what's working today. And I'm glad you brought that up, because so a video series where everybody gets everything at one time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jeff Walker, okay, that book was released in 2014. In that book, he's saying send 1 video. He calls it the pre-launch. So you send the videos over a period of time. And I happen to agree with you 100%. If I'm ready to sign up, put my name and email address into that box, I want to watch all the stuff right now.
Yeah.
This is when it's on my mind. So you're 100% right. I think giving all the content right away is good.
Well, and as you said a minute ago, like when we were talking earlier, you said, I don't have time right now. We were talking about something beforehand. You said, I can't allot that time right now. Well, if that next email dings at an inconvenient time, it's going to sit in that box as, I don't know if y'all do this, marked unread, mark this as unread. And then once it goes out of that main area, it's like, and you forget. So you have to go back. And I don't know, we're just attention spans are getting shorter, but I'm just finding that powerful to give them what they're asking for, let them kind of go through it. And that's like with my course, my online course, you can look at that and complete that in an afternoon if you kind of go through it. It's when I see certain courses, it's like 10 hours of information. I'm like, I don't have 10 hours to sit, and digest all this stuff. Or either it's going to drag out way, a long time. But yeah, give them what they want. Like if they're interested now, let's give them, and then obviously tell them other stuff after that. You don't just abandon them at that point. Give them what they're looking for.
You could make that, put all 7 videos on one landing page, but still send out 7 drip emails.
Exactly. And that's what we did. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got a signal now, Matt. No, so what?
I'm just saying, it reminds me, it doesn't have to be some complex video sales letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be, here are the 7 common mistakes, you make in sales. And here are the 7 mistakes. It doesn't have to be some complicated, I gotta say the right things and get it in a special language so I can get them to convert the sale. You're saying kind of simple and honest and let it happen.
Yeah. And you mentioned, I don't know if the wedding one necessarily that you mentioned earlier was the one I'm thinking of, but we had a wedding photographer. She wound up, we did 3 videos for hers. 3 things you need to know before choosing a wedding photographer. Right. And if you know anything about brides, they're in research mode. Like they want the information, they want to know it. And especially if they need to know it before choosing a wedding photographer, which is like one of your first 2 things you need to know. So we talked about the 3 things they need to know. We put them all on one page. And when brides were interested, they asked her and she sent them an email and said, go make sure you check out my video series right here. And what did they do? They will watch the video series. And when they were done, it made sense. They'd call her and say, okay, we're ready to go ahead and move forward. Like, because they saw how she acted. Now I will say this, if you're a jerk, if you are rude, if you're not a cool person or nice person, like people are going to see that like on video. Like if you're just mean or rude or whatever, it's going to come off the same way on video. But most people I deal with are cool people. They're just trying to help people out and serve people. And, but anyways, all that to be said, she did that and she wound up booking up, her wedding year, and her max package became her lowest package at that point because she was just doing well. And that's just a testimony to her just building that know, like, and trust factor.
So you're saying it's both a lead tool and a conversion tool, right? So
yeah.
Conversion tool meaning, hey, I got a meeting set up with you. I might send you my video series so you feel like like, and trust me before we meet face to face.
Yeah. And I would, that is the effect. I would say, I'm just, if I was in her shoes, and she probably did this, I don't know, but I would say, before we get together, before we talk on Friday, here's my 3-part series. Go ahead and watch that. Right. It's going to probably answer a few questions that you may have, save you a little bit of time on our call.
Right.
And then,
the card, whatever.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay. But I mean, if you're a rude person, if you are talking like this and you are boring and blah, 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 they'll see that too. But most of the people I talk with aren't that way.
Right. Well, it's actually, so Joe Polish is one of, Joe Polish and Dean Jackson. Joe Polish, when he started, and actually he still says this, it's like, a consumer guide, how to pick a carpet cleaner, mistakes in picking a carpet cleaner. Mm-hmm. You're saying you can almost put your consumer guide on the video, but he used to do the consumer guide. You had to read it before you could even call him to clean your carpets.
Gotcha.
Here's the 3 mistakes. When you're looking for a photographer, watch that before we even chat. So you're kind of pre-qualifying.
Yeah. It's definitely a way to do it. Go ahead. Sorry, Dave.
What are some common mistakes? Okay, so you told us kind of what people get hung up on in terms of like fear and wanting to look professional and not look like an idiot. But my response to not look like an idiot would be, well, do you normally look like an idiot in real life? Because that's probably going to show up on camera.
Yeah.
Just like you said as a guy. But what are some common mistakes that people make that you can help them avoid?
Gotcha. And let me say one thing before avoiding, I'm writing down, I want to make sure I cover that. Common mistakes. So I will say this, when people talk about, I don't want to look like an idiot, I don't want to look whatever, I think what they're scared of is struggling. They don't want to look like they're struggling. And I think the problem with that is we've been so ingrained for certain types of videos to have it so perfect and polished that if we do struggle, or if we say, or if we need to think a second, we feel like that makes us look like an idiot. And I don't think that's the truth. I think people, if you mess up or slur your words or whatever, people go, okay, this is a real person. It's raw. And I think that can make you look even more approachable, because especially in the marketing world, have you ever seen the people, they've got it all together? They've got the cool hairdo.
Too polished. They're too polished.
They got the cool blazer with the cool, little, everything's like right and on point.
They got the cool hat.
They had the cool hat with their t-shirt. But like, they got their Lambo, all that kind of stuff. And you're just kind of going, either they're fake or I really can't identify with them. I would rather have a guy who's got a little bit of a wrinkly shirt, but I can speak honestly with and be real. And not that wasn't you. But like that I can shoot straight with, and they can shoot straight with me. And maybe they don't say everything exactly properly. I'm from the South. I know I was talking with some folks in New York today about my accent, and I say y'all, and I say, all y'all and all that. But I would rather have somebody who's just straight up real, a little more raw, that I don't have to put on airs. Not that I'm going to put on airs, but I don't have to feel uncomfortable around. And so anyways, that's a little bit of a tangent, but I want to make sure that I was kind of clear on that. So common mistakes. One common mistake I see is not being able to hear. I think one of the biggest ways to make people go away and stop paying attention to your video is to have bad audio. If people can't hear what you're saying, they're more forgiving on lighting, background, all kinds of stuff. But if they can't hear you, they're going to leave because they just don't have time for it. They're going to click off and do something else. So I feel like that's one of the biggest ones. You can get away with a lot of things, but if people can't hear you, or if they're having to press the button, as loud as possible to actually hear what you're saying,
and then the sound comes back and is really loud.
You're like, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of one of the biggest ones. I think maybe another one is know what you're talking about. You kind of get in and get out for a lot of video content. And that depends a little bit. Like if it's a live video, obviously you're gonna talk about a few more things. But you want to know how is this video serving someone? Like what's the point of it? Why are you making it? And from there, if you don't know what that is, you're just kind of rambling. You just need to make a video because you feel like you should make one. Then that's when people are kind of going, I don't understand what's going on. And, that's when it can kind of get a little weird.
Do you like people shooting themselves or like a slideshow? Like I've, talk about people being afraid. It's like, oh, I don't know if I want to be on the camera. Can I just put up a couple little slides and talk over them? Are you okay with that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think everything has its place and will work. Again, my thought is I want to personalize. I want to set you apart from your competitors by being you. And something about just showing slides and not you, to me, says hiding. Like if it's once in a while, yeah. But if like it's always that way, I'm kind of going, I want to kind of see, I want to see you. Who are you? Right. It's kind of like sitting across the desk from somebody and they got like some kind of a book in front of their face or something that, they're scared about. So I don't know if that answers what you're asking.
Looking for one-man shops, for law firms, for chiropractors, like what kind of guys? You mentioned dentists. We mentioned wedding photographers. Give me like 3-4 industries that you like.
I like realtors. I like coaches. I like marketing people. Dentists can be cool. Some of them not so much, but like anybody who has somewhat of a personal brand, and anybody who maybe feels like they're in a crowded industry and they're not separating themselves. I talked with some realtors. I talked with a realtor the other day, and it's like everybody's a realtor. Everybody, oh yes, I'm a realtor. It's like, oh yeah, me too. Oh, cool. But again, what separates you from your competitors is you. And I had a realtor one time tell me, nobody's buying me. They're buying a house. And I'm like, It's like, I'm buying your expertise. I believe that if I'm going to, use you as a realtor, I believe you can help me sell this or buy this, whatever it is. Because otherwise, if it's just buying a house, I can just go to Truly or MLS system and just beep, 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 buy this house. And that's it.
It's funny you say that because that was the exact conversation. When my wife and I sold our last house, we literally interviewed like 5 agents, and I said, I am not looking for somebody to list my house. I'm looking for someone who will sell my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need somebody who just sells based around price. I want somebody who can actually say, this is why you buy this house, because it has this, this, and this. You got to sell to people.
Yeah.
You're just going to throw a piece of paper on the internet and say, hey, I have a listing. That's not the agent we want.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, even going like on the financial advisor end or whatever, it's just, if you feel commoditized, a lot of people feel commoditized. Why not go with, so Walker, my buddy, he has this funny kind of little story he says, and that's basically, let's say you work for whomever you work for, whatever the business is you work for. What are the 3 big reasons why people should do business with you? And somebody always goes, well, experience, we care about our customers, and they come off whatever the third one is.
Platitudes. We call them the platitudes.
The platitudes. And he's like, so tomorrow you got fired and you went to work for your biggest competitor. What are you going to say are your big 3? And it's like experience, we care about our customers.
We've been in business a long time.
Yeah. And I'm like, so really, if everybody's kind of saying the same things in a lot of ways, and people are looking for somebody they can know, like, and trust, and somebody to help them, guide them to the right place, then in my opinion, I just think video is a great way to bring across that concept.
Yeah, I like that. I'm sitting here thinking, so you're talking about messaging is important. So knowing what you're saying, we said this before. So unique is just different. It's not better. But being different is better. Right. So you being you is you being a real estate agent with your background. Nobody has your background or your experience. Right? Being a chiropractor with your background, with dentist with your background. That's the uniqueness, and that comes out over video is what you're saying.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I talk about in the course, you will attract people and you will repel people. And that's good.
That's fine.
You don't want the wrong people. If somebody watches, I joke around a lot. And I laugh a lot, and that's just who I am. If you don't laugh a little bit, you don't joke around a little bit. I'm known to throw out like nostalgic 80s references to things and whatever. If that's not your thing, then you won't like my stuff, and you'll find somebody else. But those who do will sit there and crack up and laugh, and they'll learn. And I mean, there's lots of people who can do probably what all of us can do out there. But we want to attract the people who are a good fit for us and repel the people who aren't, and just save everybody some time in the meantime.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they more than one football.
Losing me again. See, and this is a problem with Zoom meetings. Okay, recording Zoom meetings has always been a challenge, and it happens to Ray. It happens to a lot of big people. It is, you have these internet and all these other things, issues. Of course, when you're recording video, you're either using your iPhone or a camera. So that was going to be my next question. While Matt was breaking up, what is the camera that you like? A starter camera that you like people to start with? Is it their phone, or is there a camera they should get?
Well, you may know the answer to this, but you know what the best camera in the world is?
The one in your hand.
The one on you. Yes, exactly. I did a video on that the other day. So I don't know if you cheated, but yeah, there are, I typically tell people to start with your phone, because for the longest time, I shot with SLR cameras, the kind of camera you can pull the lens off of, for those who don't know that. I used to be a professional photographer, so there's some industry knowledge stuff. There's me and, getting stuck in the curse of knowledge. But for the longest time, I shot with those, and it gives you better quality video and a better look. But when you're done with that, you got to pop that card off, or you got to open the newer ones. You connect to the Wi-Fi, and then you send that over, then you edit it, then you blah, 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 blah. And that can be a deterrent, versus if you have a new-ish phone, you can record the video and then, pull in the beginning where you walk up and touch the thing, and pull in the end where you turn it off. and then you can start posting that. So the ease of recording is what will keep people, or what will enable people to actually start creating. Now, some of my people have actually taken my course and they went and got like a more professional camera, because they learned about lighting, they learned about how to frame a video, they learned about audio and all that, and then they could take what they learned and go create what they needed from there too. So it's just, whatever you're most comfortable with, whatever you'll actually use is what I would say is the best camera.
So, Matt, you got audio now? You want to?
Good to go. I mean, I think it's about time we kind of wrap it up. Yep. I'm sitting thinking, you're differentiating yourself. You being you is how you differentiate. Got to have a good message. Got to know what you're doing and what you're saying. Don't ramble on. I love that. Don't ramble on. Talking about ways to use it. I loved your video series. 7 common mistakes, 3 things to know before hiring a wedding planner. I mean, those are great to make it a video series. So I think everybody should use video. I'm all for it. Let's go.
Yeah. There you go. I expect to see more videos on LinkedIn.
With a mic. Yeah, with a mic or without a mic? That would be a question. If somebody's shooting with their own phone, with a mic, without a mic, with a tripod, without a tripod, how do you feel about this?
Again, it depends, but I will say oftentimes when I record video with my phone, I do not use a mic. What you can expect there is, if you're in a crowded place and there's lots of ambient or available noise happening, that might be when you want to use a mic. Or if you're in a really echoey room, you might want to use a microphone. And then you said a tripod. I use something called a GorillaPod, and it's a little flexible tripod. It's about 1 foot tall. And I use that especially when I travel, because you can throw it in your bag at the airport. I've wrapped it, it's flexible, so I've wrapped it around like fences before, tree limbs. This last event I was at, we set up a quick video session for somebody else, and I wrapped it around the top of a chair. That's what it was. So it's just a cool little stabilizer. But yeah, that's going to be a good all around thing to have, just because it's flexible and you can put it in lots of different places. So GorillaPod, that is a kind of a cool thing that you can utilize.
Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, or is it okay to pre-record it, or what are your thoughts on that?
Facebook Live, all those, LinkedIn Live, from what I last heard, there's a lot of people applied, but I guess they're letting them in chunks, I believe. It was the last I heard about it. Live videos are great. The thing I would recommend on that is that you are prepared, because that is when you can get deer in the headlights and kind of freeze. So a lot of people I know, and I'm going to be doing more live videos. I'm committed to that. But the thing with the live videos is just have some things written down. There's kind of a more professional, or let me go back. I always talk about 2 types of videos. There's formal and informal.
Right. Formal
video, you're more set up, you're composed, you've got your lighting a certain way, you've got all these things kind of squared away, and you're paying more attention. Your informal is more where it's you might have something in your head you want to talk about, so you kind of let a few of those things kind of go a little bit. But it depends on if you're doing more formal LinkedIn video or more impromptu. And if you're doing more impromptu, then again, you still want to kind of know what you're talking about. And if you kind of go blank, you want to maybe have a Post-it note or something up there to where you can kind of go back to that if you need to. But that's kind of what I'd recommend on that end.
Well, Matt, I think we've taken a lot of time today. Lee, where can our listeners find you? Where are the good places to find you and find out about Simple Video School?
Yeah. So website is simplevideoschool.com. Pretty easy. simpletips.com is the phone video series. 6 tips to make your phone videos look more professional. So that's kind of a cool one. I've got some things in there that people would like. And then if you want to be using video content, you want to, it's something you need to be doing if you go to simplevideoschool.com, I have an online course you can take on there, and you can see the proof is in the pudding. You can see what some of the folks are saying about that and how they've been helped with that.
Cool. That is perfect. You can find us at Profitability MD. If you like this show, subscribe to our channel. Matt, where can we find you?
Yeah, we got LinkedIn, or LinkedIn all the time, and we got our 10xprofitblueprint.com is my coaching website. You, Mr. Mulvaney?
Find me at davidmulvaney.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn and on all the other social medias, David Mulvaney. Sometimes you got to find and add my middle initial T, like on Twitter. So David T. Mulvaney on Twitter. So Lee, thanks so much for joining us today. I have a million more questions. We got to have you as a guest again because I still have more questions, but thank you for wonderful content, Matt. Enjoy your afternoon. We'll see you guys.
Thanks for having me.